Now, President Trump went on a rant against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and former special counsel Robert Mueller during an interview with Fox News. Now, this was with host Laura Ingraham, and this interview happened during what was supposed to be an event honoring the veterans of D-Day on the shores of Normandy. So Trump literally went to do an interview when he was supposed to be out there honoring the soldiers involved in the Normandy invasion. Well, that's great. Now, during this interview, he went after Pelosi, calling her Nervous Nancy. Quote, Nancy Pelosi. I call her Nervous Nancy. Nancy Pelosi doesn't talk about it. Talk about what? I feel like we need a little bit of context in this quote. I'm assuming they were talking about her lack of impeachment. Interesting thing, though, Pelosi had also talked about, or at least this had just come out, she talked about how she didn't want Trump impeached. She wants Trump in prison. Well, now, wait. How do you get Trump out of office so that he can be punished for his felonies? Oh, right. You get him out of office through impeachment. Maybe you should get on that, Nancy. Maybe he's right. Maybe she is nervous, Nancy, because she's nervous about impeachment and not wanting to, I don't know. Okay. Take that back just a little bit. She's nervous because she's trying to make a political calculation that she's afraid that she's going to lose. But in reality, this shouldn't be based on politics. Impeachment shouldn't be. It should be based on whether or not the president has committed actual crimes. We'll get to that later. Now, he also continued, he said, quote, Nancy Pelosi is a disaster. Okay, she's a disaster. Let her do what she wants, you know. You know what? I think they're in big trouble. Big trouble. Big trouble for what? The only thing I can think of, again, for Nancy, is ignoring both of Donald Trump's felonies, felonious behavior. That would be obstruction of justice and campaign finance violations, two of them related to the Stormy Daniels the payments to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal that were made during the election. But my guess, of course, is that he has no idea. Now, then Trump decided to go after Robert Mueller. He said, let me tell you, he made such a fool out of himself. Because what people don't report is the letter he had to do to straighten out his testimony because his testimony was wrong. Okay. As usual, no, Trump is the one who was wrong. Okay. So Mueller said in his May 30th remarks that because of the Department of Justice and the Department of Justice guidelines, he did not believe that his office could charge the president with obstruction of justice. He couldn't bring charges against the president. He also told investigators that he could not confidently say that Trump did not commit a crime. Now, later on, representatives for the Justice Department and the special counsel put out a joint statement afterwards saying that Mueller's office concluded that it would not reach a determination about whether the president had committed any crimes. So they're not saying he did do crimes, but they're not saying that he didn't either. I think that is incredibly cowardly on the part of Robert Mueller. But again, that's what we have, right? He, I think, took a political stance, made a political calculation, and said, I don't want to get into this. And look, part of it, of course, is that thanks to Barr, he can't bring charges anyway, right? Mueller also believed that it would be unfair to accuse the president of the United States of crimes, knowing that he would not be able to move forward with charges anyway. Now, he also hinted very strongly that if we wanted to hold the president accountable, we would have to go through Congress. And how do you hold the president of Congress accountable? Impeachment. And so, of course. Now, he didn't say anything in that press conference, by the way, that wasn't already in his report. So all that, I think, was fairly clear. Now, William Barr released his own memo earlier, right? And it did not come to the same conclusions as the Mueller report. That's why Mueller had to come out and speak. And what did Barr say? No collusion, no obstruction. He basically echoed Donald Trump himself. Gee, I wonder why Barr came to that conclusion. Weird. And of course, It's also no wonder why Fox News viewers are unaware that the report actually did point out 10 different counts of obstruction of justice, and that the president had also committed campaign finance violations to which his co-conspirator is currently serving time in prison for. They don't know because Fox News, they never talk about it. And Donald Trump watches Fox News and then goes on Fox News to basically repeat what all the hosts were already telling it. I mean, it's vomitous. I mean, that's the first word that comes to my mind. Vomitous. Now, all of this was happening as there was supposed to be an event honoring the fallen heroes of World War II. But instead, Trump, on the shores of Normandy, decides to make this whole entire thing about himself and uses the opportunity to attack his political enemies upon the very ground that the greatest generation fought bravely against literal fascists. There's a little bit of irony here. And not only that, but he literally makes them wait so that he can do a stupid interview with Laura Ingraham, one of his biggest sycophants and overall horrible person. If anybody is showing a complete and utter disrespect for the sacrifices of those men, it's Donald Trump, who himself is a wannabe dictator. That day, I'm sorry, D-Day, the D does not stand for Donald, okay? I don't know if he knows that, but D-Day is not about him, despite what we hear from the GOP, which, by the way, GOP chairwoman Ronna McDaniel Romney, right, came out and said, oh, D-Day is a day where we should definitely celebrate the president. We should celebrate Donald Trump. No, we shouldn't. Donald Trump's done nothing. Why should we celebrate the president on this day? No, we should celebrate the fallen men, the heroes that fought literal fascism. Now, to be fair, Donald Trump did talk a little bit about this and about the reason that he was there. So we'll get to that quote. He said, "There was never a more important event than the event 75 years ago today. Think of that. These were incredible, brave people who were just being blown up, and you have graves all over." It's kind of a weird statement, but I mean, I guess it's true. These were people who knew they were going to die. It was horrendous. This was a very, very horrific day, but it was also a very special day, and it's an honor to be here. Now, look, as far as word salad goes, that's very salady, but I guess he tries to make a point like, I don't know, I guess they were getting blown up, but I guess they were brave. All right, fair enough. I'm not going to criticize that one too heavily, right? But look, what's important about this day is that 75 years ago, this was the day that the Nazi dream of conquest over the entire world had effectively been killed. That the fascism of the Nazi regime was doomed to die when the Allies stormed these shores and overwhelmed the Nazi supposedly impenetrable defenses. And this is the day that the Allies took the war to the Germans, to the Nazis, I should say. But of course, sadly, in America, the very thing these people fought for and died to fight against has actually come back. Under this president, you have neo-Nazis openly marching in Charlottesville. They even killed someone during that march. Yet this same president had remarked that there are very fine people on that side. So, look, Donald Trump had some, I guess, nice words in here, but like most of his words, they ring hollow. They don't mean anything when you look at his actions, when you look at his rhetoric, when you look at the kind of thing that he has enabled in this country. Donald Trump being president is a slap in the face to everyone who has died in the beach fighting against both fascism and hate. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, You know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.